Hello everyone, and welcome back to the layout. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I know I say that every damn video almost, but we're going to be taking a look at the newest run of SD38's from Athearn. These are ready to roll model, and these particular ones are DCC ready, but these are pretty cool. The Conrail Quality paint scheme, I've got a bit of a soft spot for SD38's, so I picked these up recently and just wanted to kind of show them a little bit, show the details a little bit. I'm not a professional review guy, but maybe you saw some of the pictures of these online and said, I wonder what they really look like. So got them out here on the layout to check out. So sit back, relax, and enjoy as we take a bit of a dive into some Athearn ready to roll SD38's. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and unbox this one here, the 6939. These have tape here along the back edge to keep them sealed, which I already broke. But your standard Athearn affair as far as the box, and it's got the inner cradle deal here. And of course your bag of little fuel tank detail and all that fun stuff you can add to make the model match with the prototype better. The clamshell on this one's kind of tighter than usual, not wanting to come apart. Probably a good thing. Of course you got your manual warranty paperwork and all that fun jazz in there. This wonderful plastic that I'm sure I'm not the only one that has a hard time trying to get this sitting there when you close these back up. And of course sits in there nice and secure. Of course our foam sides here to protect the handrails. Alright, so that's everything that's involved with getting one of these units out of the box here. Alright, so our first unit we're going to look at here is the 6939. Actually looks pretty good here. Got all your little detail over here on the pilot. This one has a plow per the prototype because some of these SD38s did have plows. Your little MU cables. And of course your wonderful McHenry plastic couplers. Come on, Athearn, get rid of that junk already. But, overall we're looking pretty good. Our handrails paint looks decent. Looks like got a little chunk there in that. I don't know how I feel about that. But do have our windshield wipers. Got the horn going on there. Overall looks pretty good here. Liking that. The other thing Athearn kind of does makes me crazy here is with these grab irons. They paint the whole grab iron white, and Conrail didn't do that. They just painted this flat section between the two ends of the grab iron white. These actual ends area was not actually painted white, so it's kind of a bummer, but you could always fix that with a little blue paint. Coming around, we got our little cab wind deflector deal. And do our windows open? No, they don't. That's a bummer. Definite bummer there. But as you can see aside, we've got all of our little warning labels and such put on here. Let's see if we could zoom in on some of those, maybe a little bit. They actually do look pretty good if I can get the camera pointed on them. Pretty nice, pretty nice. And of course, we'll go ahead around here to the back. Again, same similar pilot detail here on the back, looking pretty good. I like that. And of course, our small quality logo again here on the engineer's side. And they did get this right. They got the one cab sunshade, which does look good. Because on these Conrail units, I don't know if it was like something in the union contract or something, but the engineer's side had to have a cab sunshade, not the conductor's side. So pretty cool to see that there. We kind of take a look at, we can get a decent shot here. A little bit of underframe detailing, not a lot, but a little bit. Considering it's a ready to roll model, I'll take it. And looks like this one doesn't have any roof lift rings or anything. But if we look closely here, we can see all of our little holes that we could drill out and add those ourselves. So that's not a huge deal. Good that they at least have those little spots on there. All right, so that's our 6939. And then next up here, we have the 6953. So this one, again, similar deal here. Overall, this one, the main difference is being this one has Conrail Quality on the short hood. Does not have a plow. And also has a large Quality logo down each side of it. Other than that, it looks about the same. And when looking at these, one of the only things I found to be a little bit of a flaw was here we have a little bit of paint chippage going on here, but I could touch that up with a little white paint. That's not too big a deal. But otherwise, basically the same as the 6939. Overall, a very, very nice looking locomotive. Alright, so next up here, we're going to get some weights on these units. Now, I will want to note that these are DC, DCC ready, and we'll go into that here shortly. So let's get what the weight is on these right out of the factory box here. We got 14.95 ounces on the 6939. And on the 6953, 14.90. Interesting. It's a smaller logo, weighs more. I always find that weird with some of these ready-to-roll models that sometimes they weigh different things and they're from the same run, same factory, same everything. Let's go ahead and let's move on to some of the standards testing here. Alright, so I'm set up over here on a pretty flat section of track here. We got the 6939 with our KD height gauge here. Our front coupler looks pretty good. Let's check out our rear coupler. Yeah, rear coupler looks just as good there. It might be just a tad low, but not that much. It might just be the smaller McHenry coupler making it appear like that. Let's go ahead and grab our 6953 here. Make sure I get all my wheels on. Good, yep. And again, it looks just a tad, but it's not so close. I would just call it good to go. I wouldn't get carried away messing with that too much. And again, good on the back end as well. Alright, so as I kind of touched on earlier, these are DCC ready DC models here. These are not factory sound units because I don't really care for Tsunami sound that much. I know that's a bit of a, one of those things, ooh, Tsunami. I can't stand trying to program it and go through all that. I've just never had any luck with it. So I got these DCC ready. That way I could add Loke sound down the road, and we're actually going to take these over to the workbench here in a minute to pop them open and see what the inside looks like, to see if there's anything new, anything different with the shell off, for those of you that are like me that take things and rip them apart after you get them. So we're just going to do a simple back and forth DC run here, just to, show that they work, basically. That's pretty much all it is. Hopefully the track's not too dirty over here, and they won't give me any trouble. Alright, so as you guys can tell, they do go back and forth on DC like they should. They make that horrible noise that all these DC models make when you put them on a DCC layout, but they do work. They seem pretty smooth. You got to really crank up the power a little bit to get them to move, and they don't move very slow because they're on DC, but overall not too bad. The LED headlights and everything look pretty good, so I'm pretty happy with these. I think these will make really nice locomotives once I add sound and do weathering and all the fun building yet manned building slugs to go with these units eventually. So let's head on over to the workbench and pop the shell off and see what all's going on the inner guts of one of these units. Alright, so we're over here at the workbench now. We're going to go ahead and pop this unit apart and take a look at its inner workings here. Got 2 screws, one on each end, that hold the coupler boxes in. That you got to remove the coupler boxes and the screws to get the shell off, or provided Athearn hasn't changed anything, that should be how difficult it is to get our shell apart. This is always the hardest part, in my opinion, is getting these dang screws to pop out. Sometimes you got to use a pair of tweezers to yank on them. I know somebody's going to probably say, hey Steve, you know they make like a foam cradle to hold a locomotive upside down in? Oh, do I know. I have one. I don't, I never use it. I've had a problem with putting locomotives in those and having like the, having detail parts come off, so I try not to use them very much. I'd much rather just use a paper towel and just kind of hold the thing upside down while I'm working on it here. So I can get this screw to come out. Don't tell me that's gonna, oh, there it goes. Alright, so now it should be as simple as pulling on the middle of the shell here and it should pop apart.
I don't think so, Tim.
Or maybe not. Did they put more screws in these? Yes, they did. Those wankers. Okay, so we got 2 more screws we gotta try and fish out now. Looks like one right here. I was kind of surprised I didn't think Athearn added any screws to these, because they still have the old style cab on them that doesn't have opening windows, so I figured they just didn't do any of that. So typical Athearn here. You got a screw there, and there's probably one up here too. I don't know if that one's going to make a difference or not, because the weird thing is sometimes Athearn likes to put like weights, have them screwed in. They do weird goofy things like this. But when in doubt, just keep taking screws out of it till it comes apart. Now it should come apart. Yeah. Maybe. Why ain't it coming apart now? Alright, so after fiddling with this here for a few minutes, I found that if you take a chisel blade here, knife, and just kind of work it up along the edge, you kind of can pop the shell loose. It would appear that mine appears to have been glued on a little bit. That would probably, yep. I got a little carried away with the old glue at the factory there, it looks like to me. But your pretty standard interior here from Athearn, as far as we got our LED lights. Looks like we're using a 21 pin DCC ready board now, which I will throw on eBay as soon as I rip it out and put Loke sound in this thing. A little bit, I kind of like, it looks like they redesigned the weight here so that way you have a platform that you can then put speakers on. That's actually really, really nice. The last run of these had like this big weight piece that had like a built-in spot to put speakers, and that was great if all you're doing was adding a speaker, but in my case I'm adding a keep alive as well, so I need that space back here for speakers and keep alive. So that looks like that's going to be a really, really nice deal there. But otherwise looks pretty typical old-fashioned Athearn there. I'm going to scrape some of this glue nonsense off of here. That way I could put this back together. But either or, guys, I hope you kind of enjoyed this little look here into the newest run of SD38's from Athearn. If you're on the fence about getting one, if you can get a deal, I say buy them. They're pretty freaking snazzy here. I'm pretty happy with mine, other than the glue holding this SOB together not being the best thing in the world. But overall, I'd definitely check them out if I was you. And give me some feedback, guys. Do you like this? Do you want me to do more of this? I know myself, I always kind of like wonder with, you know, older models, like, well, what am I getting into if I buy that for a project? So that was kind of part of my reason for doing this style of deal here, and kind of looking at, okay, what's the inside look like? What's, you know, what are you getting into if you buy one of these? Because with me doing all my own DCC and sound installs and all that fun jazz, I kind of want to know, what does the guts of the locomotive look like before I spend the money on it, because if it's going to be a headache, I'm not going to want to spend as much on it. So you guys tell me, would you like to see more of this? Would you not like to see more of this? As always, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.